This is the first episode of the webinar, Measuring Data Management Maturity and Performance. In this episode, I'll discuss the definitions of these two data management capabilities. I'll also demonstrate the dependencies between measuring maturity and performance. On the slide, you see the results of a similar poll I performed on LinkedIn a couple of weeks ago. So you see the results are rather similar, but honestly, when I've seen these results, I had a question. Some companies measure only maturity and others only performance. So in my opinion, these two processes relate. So in this webinar, I intend to demonstrate how a company can combine measuring maturity and performance. So let's start with the first topic of this webinar, the definition of data management maturity and performance. Let's start with the definition of performance management. The definition on the slide includes several important points. The first one is that performance management is a process. This process should ensure a business progress toward achieving specified goals. So this definition means the following. A company should specify goals in a specific area. Then a company should identify how to measure the progress in achieving these goals. The last step is establishing a process to maintain this measurement until the goals are achieved. One of the common ways to measure performance is using key performance indicator. Let's start with the definition of KPI. You see the definition on the slide. There are a couple of important words that require additional attention. The first was quantifiable and measurable. It means you need to find out how to measure progress and demonstrate it with some number. The expert opinion like it's good enough, it's not an option. The second point is intended result. You need to know where to go and then measure your progress. I stress the word measure for one reason. Several recognized data management models, maturity models, do not measure the level of maturity, but rather base their assessment on some statement. Let's take a look at the definition of data management maturity. Let's pay attention to the key words of this definition. First, this is a measurement. Some data management maturity assessments are based on qualitative company development description. However, I always opt for measuring development and not using subjective opinion. The second key word phrase is the ability to improve data management. In this case, we mean a data management capability, its sub-capabilities, and the dimensions that constitute this capability. We finalized the discussion about definitions. Now it's time to move on and discuss the relationships between measuring maturity and performance. Time ago, I delivered a presentation on the topic of data management maturity at the Enterprise Data World in the United States. One participant said, "My boss thinks our company is not mature enough to perform a maturity assessment." I oppose this opinion. For me, a maturity assessment is a great tool to define a company's ambitions and plan corresponding actions. The second reason is the ability to develop performance indicators and monitor a company's performance in the area of data management. The second reason is the ability to benchmark results. Before continuing this webinar, we need to agree upon the definition of data management. In other words, what is the measuring object? There are different perceptions of what data management is. Time ago, I summarized various definitions of data management and concluded that the definition of data management varies per organizational level. I got a handy tool to define data management depending on the organizational level. So at strategic level, data management aims to enhance data value. But that a company should initiate programs and develop a strategy. At the tactical level, a company aims to control data. Policies, processes, and medium-term plans will assist in achieving this goal. At the operational level, the company will ensure a data lifecycle. It can be achieved by implementing required tools and performing procedures. This approach to distinguish the aims and the means of data management at different organizational levels allows for a pragmatic approach in designing a data management capability. It also allows us to measure data management maturity and set up various key performance indicators at different organizational levels. The difference will be the objects of measuring. At the strategic level, we will measure the maturity and performance of the whole data management capability. At the technical level, you perform these tasks at the level of data management capabilities like data governance, modeling, quality, and so on. You can measure maturity of separate capability components like processes, regulations, and so on. For example, data quality capability requires a set of regulations like a data quality policy and standard. At the technical level, you can assess individual items of these components. Let's continue with the example of data quality regulation. You can define that your company needs a data quality policy, standard data quality requirements, and standard data quality checks. You can measure the maturity of these documents. If you don't have them yet, you can define them as key performance indicators for future development. At the technical level, you can also measure the effectiveness of various processes. I'll demonstrate several examples later in this webinar. A company can measure maturity and performance in various directions. The top-down approach you can apply to both measurements. You can start at the strategic level and then expand it to the lower level. You can also measure maturity using the bottom-up approach. I'll demonstrate both approaches in this webinar. Data Crossroads has opened an online academy. It offers multiple free webinars. You can watch the recording of this webinar on the site using the provided link. You can also find paid courses for data management and non-professionals. So if you want to know about measuring data management maturity and performance, please visit this site. If you are not yet connected on LinkedIn, let's do it.